So it's been a few days ever since the Fallen Star event launched, so I would assume all of you have probably gotten your hands on to the new A-Class Watanabe, so that's why I'm making this video. It's probably a very good timing. As usual, we're probably gonna go through his weapons, 5-star versus 6-star, memories, team comm, and maybe a little bit like abilities overview, because I think there's a really important things that you guys have to know. So let's get into this. So before the video started, I do have to mention one thing. Remember, A-Class Dark Damage Watanabe, in the end of the day, he is not an S-Class unit. He is an A-Class unit. Maybe like A+, but just don't expect him to do as much raw damage as your Alpha could do, because in the end of the day, there is a difference between an S-Class unit and an A-Class unit. So he might not be able to do as much damage as Alpha does, but he's really good at specific stages that you would probably require him that Alpha could not perform as well as ASTRAL Watanabe do. So just want to get it to you guys before we start the video. And also, comparing like physical damage with elemental damage is kind of unfair, because physical damage could do crits, but elemental damage does not crit. So just make sure you know that. So with all that being said, let's get into his ability first. Now, don't skip this part, because you're probably not going to realize this if you skip it. It's really important if you play Watanabe or you plan to play him more often than usual. So let's say you go into your Cosmic Wave, right? That's how you do damage with your core passive. Let me get my orbs first. Okay. Now, when you go into core passive, you know that you have to ping like 3 random orb ping and then click a red orb, which is this one. It's called the Cosmic Wave, by the way. Now, when you go into that kind of form, you think that you're invincible. You're not gonna get hit by the enemy at all. Now, you're wrong, because if you play Watanabe more than enough, you would know that you will still get hit while he is in Cosmic Wave. Now, what could you do to avoid that? Very easy. Let me show you. You're gonna get one red orb first. Okay. You spend the yellow orb first, and now when you use your 3 ping orb and you try to go into your Cosmic Wave by pinging that last red orb, you could do a dodge. And see what happened there? When you go into that form and you dodge, your attacks, your core passive would still be doing damage regardless. So you wouldn't want to like sit still and do nothing while your core passive is working. All you have to do is just dodge, and you could do something else, maybe like ping some more, do some more damage, or maybe go into your alt form as well. Your core passive would be still working during that time. Now, one more thing as well. You do not want to cancel your core passive animation using your dodge way too early, because that's going to end up canceling your whole core passive. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you cancel it way too early, like just dodging way too early. Just use 3 blue orbs, and I'm going to ping my red orb now, and I dodge. You still get your, core passive enhanced damage, like a buff on like a small little gauge at your bottom screen, which would add like dark damage to your normal attacks, but you would end up canceling your whole Cosmic Wave. So that's what you don't want to do. And let me show you how to cancel your alt's animation as well. Just do this and press pause. Now, I know a lot of you probably don't read abilities. You just go in and do it in like real battle to kind of get the construct, but that's a really bad habit. So all the abilities is pretty simple. If you just take a look at it, you would probably know how it works. But the thing that you need to absolutely have to focus on is like probably the last sentence. Damage will be converted into dark damage when performing a 3 ping. So you probably wouldn't want to like do a 1 ping damage, because all of those is just gonna turn into like physical damage, and dark damage Watanabe focuses on dark damage. So physical damage is pretty much useless on him. It's really important to just go into 3 pings all the time, because you'll be doing more dark damage, because that's what your memories are adding, dark damage. Physical damage is, it still does some damage, but it's probably not the best option for Dark Watanabe. And also, one thing that I realized is probably a lot of you are struggling when you're going against, in Pain Cage, going against like Iron Maiden, because of that very high physical damage resistance. Getting a dark damage Watanabe is the solution to make it easier for you to go against like Iron Maiden, because of the dark damage resistance minus 40%. Not only you're doing more damage than Alpha, and you know how when like Iron Maiden goes into her second form, she always kind of throw an ability like a Thorns, kind of trap you in one place, and you have to kind of clean the Thorns before you could get to her. which is a really time consuming. Now, guess what? Watanabe has an ability that could teleport to the enemy's rear side, which is the meteoric strike. This ability is really important because when Iron Maiden kind of traps you in one place, using this ability could just get you out of that instantly, so you don't have to waste time kind of, destroying all those thorns and wasting points in Pain Cage. So this is a very good reason to get him as well, instead of trying to use Alpha for every single bosses that you fight. Dark Damage Watanabe is really good against Iron Maiden, so that's just a plus into his kit. Now let's talk about the weapons, right? I think a lot of you would probably be interested in this topic because you want to know whether I should go for the 6-star weapons or should I just stay with the 5-star weapon. For all the F2P players out there, 5-star weapon is more than enough if you want to save up for the next S-Class banner. Now if you have disposable income, you could throw a bit cash in here and there. Maybe going for that 6-star weapon would enhance your overall gameplay experience. But in the end of the day, it's entirely up to you. If you're happy, you just want to spend something on your favorite game, you want to support the creator, go for it. Now, I want to emphasize on why do I say this 5-star weapon is more than enough. Now, it's really important to distinguish between a good 5-star weapon and a bad 5-star weapon for a certain units. Now, if you take a look at this weapon's passive, all damage means no matter you're doing elemental damage or physical damage, you could still get the buff. Now, a bad 5-star weapon is probably this one, right? The bow for Bianca. Now, when I say bad, it doesn't mean that it's bad for every single Bianca unit, right? This weapon would be an absolute amazing choice for A-Class Bianca because A-Class Bianca relies on crit damage as well to further increase her damage, right? Now, this weapon would be a really bad option for S-Class Bianca because again, S-Class Bianca does elemental damage and this is not Genshin Impact. Elemental damage doesn't crit in this game, so the passive would probably be useless for S-Class Bianca, although you could still use this weapon. But if you're willing to go further to pull that as signature weapon for your S-Class Bianca, you would have increased your damage to a whole new level. Now, I really don't have to go in depth into his memories because you guys know that the 4 set for Dark Damage Watanabe would definitely be Bafloon, but the remaining 2 set, you could go whatever you want, right? It's very viable. You could go with Frederick because it does increase damage as well when you dodge. It's up to your playstyle. If you dodge a lot, this would probably be a great one. You could go with Darwin, which is what I'm going right now. It does increase a lot of damage when you do a 3 ping, 4 ping, kind of stack up the damage. You could maybe go for Condolina as well because Dark Damage Watanabe relies heavily on his normal attack as well. So basic attack damage increased by 15% applies to elemental damage as well, I think. Or you could go for Cody. Cody does allow you to use your ult more often, so it's probably a very viable option as well if you have them. So if you have any of these, go for it, try it for yourself. Any set that does more damage, you should probably go for that. Also, one small reminder, when you're upgrading your memories for Dark Damage Watanabe, make sure you don't prioritize on slot 1, 2, and 3 because Dark Damage Watanabe deal a huge chunk of elemental damage, so prioritizing on crit is probably not the best option. For me personally, I would go and prioritize on slot 4, 5, and 6 first because they do increase the attack and defense, and increasing attack directly affects your amount of damage that you could do on your units, so that's probably a better option to go with. So now let's talk about team comp. I think a lot of you new players probably wouldn't understand how to build a team around your main DPS, so generally what you need in a team is 1 DPS, 1 tank, and 1 healer. Now, let's talk about the tank for Dark Damage Watanabe first. First choice, I would definitely go for Kamui Tenebrion because this is probably the best tank for Dark Damage Watanabe because S-Class Kamui does dark damage as well. Generally, the same element should be put into one team because they work really well with each other. Dark Damage Watanabe probably have a passive skill that just, inflicts debuff to decrease enemies' dark damage resistance. So that's why I think it's really good with Dark Damage Watanabe. Now, if you don't have Kamui Tenebrion, you could probably go for Ayla. It works as well, just not as good as Kamui Tenebrion, Kamui Bastion, or maybe B-class Nanami here. It's completely up to you. Now let's talk about the healer. You have 3 choices. You could go for A class Liv, you could go for B class Liv as well, or if you have an S class Liv, that might be a better option because she heals a lot and she's really good in that Tower of Babel, providing that healing is very critical. Generally for FTP players, if you don't have S class Liv, I would say go for A class Liv because she does heal way more than B class Liv. B class Liv only heal you like once when her QTE procs. It doesn't heal that much, so going for an A class Liv would definitely be the better option. Now when you're doing Warzone, you could go for the standard team, a DPS, a tank, and a healer, but you could also go for another route, which is adding A class Karenina into your team, replacing either your healer or your tank, right? The reason why you want to use Karenina on your team when you're doing Warzone is because of her specific orbs, right? The blue orbs. It could gather all the mobs all around into one place so you could kill them all in once instead of trying to kill them one by one. Now this is really important because if you can kill them all at once, you could save so much more time. And if you can't use her blue orb actively to kind of gather all the mobs around, you could go for a QTE as well, you know? When you active that QTE, she still fire like a spinning projectile that deals physical damage, and it also grabs all the mobs in that specific area all into one place. So she is a really great asset if you're focusing on Warzone. So you will just have to try that to know that, right? I generally recommend everyone to use a Karenina on your team if you're having a hard time trying to kill the mobs one by one in the Warzone. But if you do more than enough damage, you could pretty much like one shot all the wave. Then a Karenina would not be that important in your team. Now let's talk about farming his shots, right? As you guys know, you could farm his shots in the interlude stages. Now, which should you be focusing on? When you kind of evolve it, you don't just add the overall stats for Dark Damage Watanabe, you would also be unlocking new skills, right? If you got into like S class, you would finally be able to upgrade this ability, which would add extra damage bonus to your units. You will be able to get that 10% number all the way up to 15 or maybe even 20%. If you try to get it to like double S, you'll be unlocking like this passive, which is dealing 10 extra damage to target hit by your blue orb, which is a very good one as well. Usually I would recommend you going for like 2S for F2B players. If you will, go for like triple S or triple S plus. It's probably gonna be better than all of the units that you're comparing with. Generally like 2S would be really good. Of course during the end game you would be able to get him to like triple S or triple S plus, but that's a really long way to go. I would recommend double S if you really want to focus on maining him. And that's all I have. Alright, I hope this video was helpful. If you find it helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below at what's your opinion about this new unit, because I absolutely had a blast with this unit because I was getting really tired of playing alpha every single day. So having a new DPS is really good for the longevity of the game because you don't get tired of playing one units all the time. For those who just want to play alpha all the time, you're really a legend. Now, if you want to see me grind for Pain Cage, Tower of Babel, or something like that, I do have a Twitch channel which is called like twitch.tv/deltaz02. If you're interested, make sure to tune in and hang out. You could ask me anything when I'm streaming, and I'm probably gonna stream more often. I would probably aim to stream like 3 times a week if I could. So that's all I have. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.